At my daughter's birthday, my mother-in-law said, "She doesn't deserve our family." My husband nodded. I smiled, served cake, and left. A week later, their calls flooded my phone, but I'd moved on. Their words made me stronger. My revenge is. My triumph, they lost me forever, and their pleas are noise. Man, where do I even start with this mess? Picture this. You're at your own kid's birthday party, thinking everything's cool, when suddenly your world gets flipped upside down faster than a pancake at IHOP on Sunday morning. So there I was, standing in my kitchen prepping little Emma's 7th birthday cake, one of those Pinterest-worthy creations with rainbow layers and unicorn decorations that took me 3 freaking hours to make. The house was decorated with pink streamers and My Little Pony balloons, everything looking like a sugar-coated dream. My husband Mark was out back firing up the Weber grill for the hot dogs, and I could hear him chatting with his mom who'd driven down from Sacramento that morning. Now, let me paint you a picture of my mother-in-law Linda. This woman's the type who still calls Walmart Walmart and thinks Starbucks is too fancy for regular folks. She's got opinions about everything from how I fold laundry to why I shouldn't let Emma watch Disney movies because they're too modern. But hey, she's family, right? And family puts up with each other's quirks. The party was in full swing by 2 o'clock. Kids were running around the backyard like they'd been mainlining Mountain Dew. Parents were sipping beer and making small talk about soccer schedules and mortgage rates. Classic suburban Saturday vibes, you know? Emma was having the time of her life, especially when her best friend Sophia showed up wearing the exact same unicorn dress. They were practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. I was inside grabbing more Capri Sun pouches from the fridge when I heard voices drifting through the screen door. At first, I wasn't really paying attention, just the usual adult chatter mixing with kids screaming and laughing. But then I caught my name, and something in Linda's tone made me freeze up like I'd just seen a cop in my rearview mirror. "I'm telling you, Mark, she doesn't deserve this family." The words hit me like a freight train carrying a load of concrete blocks. I stood there holding those juice pouches, feeling like someone had just sucker punched me in the gut. My heart started doing that thing where it feels like it's trying to break out of your chest, you know what I mean? She acts all sweet and perfect, but look at how she's raising Emma. The child barely knows her own grandmother because she keeps making excuses about why we can't visit more often. I wanted to march right out there and set the record straight. Linda lived 4 hours away and expected us to drive up every other weekend like we didn't have jobs, school activities, and a life of our own. But I stayed put, listening, because sometimes you need to hear the truth about what people really think when they figure you're not around. And don't get me started on how she spends your money. Designer clothes for a 7-year-old? That ridiculous SUV when a Honda Civic would do just fine? She's turning you into one of those husbands who works himself to death just to keep up with his wife's shopping habits. The Escalade sitting in our driveway wasn't exactly a Lamborghini, but okay, Linda. And those designer clothes for Emma came from Target and Old Navy, but apparently that's high-end fashion in Linda's world. But here's the kicker, the part that really got me twisted up inside. Mark's response. "You're right, Mom. I've been thinking the same thing lately." Those words landed heavier than a bowling ball dropped from a second-story window. My husband, the guy who'd promised to love and cherish me through better or worse, was out there agreeing with his mother's character assassination like they were discussing the weather forecast. She's changed since we got married. More demanding, more focused on appearances. Remember how simple she used to be? Now it's all about keeping up with the neighbors and making sure everything looks perfect for her social media posts. Social media posts? I posted maybe twice a month, usually pictures of Emma doing something cute. And keeping up with neighbors? Our neighbors included a retired librarian and a guy who collected vintage lawnmowers. Real high-maintenance crowd there. Update, so I'm standing in my kitchen listening to my husband and mother-in-law trash me at my daughter's birthday party. Part of me wants to storm out there and cause a scene, but something inside me says to stay quiet and see how deep this rabbit hole goes. What would you do in my shoes? Confront them immediately, or keep listening to see what else they reveal? Married her because she seemed different from other girls. Down to earth, you know? But now she's just like all the rest, worried about appearances and spending money we don't really have to spare. The irony was thicker than peanut butter on Wonder Bread. Mark drove a lifted F-150 that cost more than some people's annual salary. His golf clubs were worth more than my entire wardrobe, but sure, I was the one with spending problems. Maybe it's time you had a serious conversation with her about expectations. Set some boundaries. Let her know that this family has values, and if she wants to be part of it, she needs to respect them. Linda's voice had that self-righteous tone that made my skin crawl, like she was some kind of family guru dispensing wisdom from her double-wide trailer in Sacramento. The woman who'd been married 3 times was giving relationship advice. Rich. I heard footsteps on the deck, someone coming toward the house. Quick as lightning, I grabbed those juice pouches and headed back outside, plastering on my biggest smile like nothing had happened. My acting skills would have made Meryl Streep proud. "Hey everyone, who needs a refill?" I called out, voice cheerful as a morning talk show host. Linda looked at me with this fake smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mark wouldn't even make eye contact, suddenly finding the grill grates fascinating. The guilt was written all over his face like graffiti on a highway overpass. The rest of the party played out like some twisted reality show episode. I served cake, sang happy birthday, helped kids with party games, and smiled until my face hurt. Every laugh felt forced, every conversation felt hollow. But I kept it together because Emma deserved her perfect day, and I wasn't about to let grown-up drama ruin it for her. When the last guest left around 5 o'clock, Linda made her exit with hugs and promises to visit again soon. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who'd just spent the afternoon talking about how I didn't deserve, their family was now acting like we were best friends. Such a lovely party, dear. Emma's so lucky to have a mother who goes to such trouble for her birthdays. The fake sweetness in her voice made me want to throw up. But I smiled and thanked her for coming, because that's what good daughters-in-law do, right? After she left, Mark and I cleaned up in relative silence. He kept trying to make small talk about the party, asking if I thought Emma had fun, commenting on how well-behaved the kids were. Standard post-party conversation, but it felt different now. Every word had weight behind it, loaded with meaning I couldn't ignore. That night, after Emma was tucked into bed with her new stuffed animals and birthday books, I sat in our living room staring at the TV without really watching. Mark was scrolling through his phone, probably checking fantasy football scores or watching YouTube videos about truck modifications. Normal Saturday night routine, but nothing felt normal anymore. I kept replaying those words in my head. She doesn't deserve this family. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not just hurt angry, but righteous angry. The kind of anger that burns clean and gives you clarity instead of clouding your judgment. Who was Linda to decide what I deserved? This woman who'd raised a son who thought it was okay to trash talk his wife behind her back? This woman who'd never worked a day outside the home but had opinions about how I spent money I earned? This woman who saw her granddaughter maybe 6 times a year, but thought she knew better than me how to raise her? And Mark. Sweet, loyal Mark who'd promised to have my back through thick and thin. The same Mark who'd stood there nodding along while his mother picked apart everything about me, from my parenting to my spending habits to my social media presence. Update. The party's over, guests are gone, and I'm sitting here processing what I overheard. My husband basically agreed with his mom that I don't deserve this family. I'm not just hurt, I'm furious. But here's the thing. Their words are making me realize some hard truths about my situation. Should I confront Mark about what I heard, or is there a better way to handle this that they'll never see coming? By Sunday morning, something had shifted inside me. I woke up with this weird sense of calm, like when you finally make a decision you've been putting off for months. Mark was still asleep, snoring softly beside me, and Emma was probably downstairs watching cartoons and eating cereal straight from the box like she did every weekend morning. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, looking out at our backyard, with its perfect lawn and expensive patio furniture. Everything looked the same as it had yesterday, but something fundamental had changed. Those words, "she doesn't deserve this family," had acted like a wake-up call I didn't know I needed. The thing is, they were right. I didn't deserve this family. I deserved better. I deserved a husband who defended me instead of joining in when his mother criticized me. I deserved a mother-in-law who respected me as an individual instead of seeing me as some kind of gold digger who'd trapped her precious son. I deserved to be valued for who I was instead of constantly judged for falling short of some impossible standard I'd never even agreed to meet. For 7 years, I'd been trying to fit into their family like forcing a square peg into a round hole. Changing myself, walking on eggshells, making excuses for their behavior while holding myself to impossible standards. And for what? So they could stand in my backyard at my daughter's birthday party and agree that I wasn't good enough for them? That's when I started making my plan. Not a revenge plan. Revenge is messy and usually backfires. This was more like a strategic withdrawal, a tactical retreat that would leave them wondering what the heck had just happened. First stop was my laptop. I'd been freelance writing for a few years, mostly small projects that fit around Emma's schedule and Mark's expectations. But I'd been getting offers for bigger clients, full-time remote positions that would pay significantly more than my current piecemeal work. I'd turned them down because Mark thought I should focus on being home for Emma. Funny how a man who worked 60-hour weeks had opinions about work-life balance. I spent Sunday afternoon updating my resume and portfolio, reaching out to contacts, and applying for positions I'd previously ignored. My college degree in journalism wasn't just decoration on the wall, it was my ticket to independence. Monday morning, I called Emma's school and asked about their after-school program. Turns out they had openings, and Emma had been asking to join anyway because her best friends were enrolled. Problem solved. By Tuesday, I'd had 3 phone interviews and 1 video call with a marketing company in Seattle that needed a remote content manager. The pay was almost double what Mark made at his construction job, and the benefits package included health insurance that would cover Emma and me. Wednesday brought a job offer. Thursday, I accepted it. Friday, exactly 1 week after the birthday party, I started putting my plan into action. I picked Emma up from school and took her to McDonald's, her favorite treat that Linda would definitely consider beneath our family's standards. While she played in the ball pit, I explained that Mommy had gotten a really good job that would let us have our own adventure. "Are we moving away from Daddy?" she asked, those big brown eyes serious in the way only kids can manage. "We're going to try living somewhere new for a while. Daddy can visit whenever he wants, and you can visit him too. Sometimes grown-ups need space to figure things out." She seemed to accept this explanation better than I'd expected. Kids are resilient like that. They adapt to change faster than adults do, especially when you're honest with them in age-appropriate ways. Saturday morning, while Mark was at his weekly golf game with the guys, I packed our essentials. Not everything. I wasn't stealing or being vindictive. Just clothes, important documents, Emma's favorite toys and books, and the few things that really mattered to me. I left a note on the kitchen counter explaining that I'd gotten a job opportunity and needed some time to think about our marriage. I didn't mention the conversation I'd overheard. That would have led to arguments, explanations, apologies that didn't mean anything. This way was cleaner, more direct. We drove to my sister's place in Portland, a 5-hour drive that gave me plenty of time to think, and Emma plenty of time to get excited about seeing her cousins. My sister had always said I could stay with them if I ever needed to, and she meant it. No questions asked, just support and space to figure things out. The job was everything they'd promised, and more. Working remotely meant I could be present for Emma while still building a career that actually utilized my skills in education. The team was supportive, the work was challenging, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was using my brain for something other than planning birthday parties and managing household logistics. Update. It's been a month since I left, and my phone's been blowing up with calls and texts. Mark's going through all the classic stages: confusion, anger, bargaining. Linda's apparently beside herself, telling everyone who'll listen that I abandoned my family. But here's the wild part. I've never felt stronger or more confident in my life. The job is amazing, Emma's thriving, and I'm starting to remember who I was before I became someone else's idea of the perfect wife and mother. But now Mark wants to meet and work things out. Should I hear him out, or is this chapter of my life officially closed? Mark's first call came Sunday night, about 2 hours after he would have found my note. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the texts: confusion, anger, demands that I come home immediately. I responded once, letting him know Emma and I were safe and that I'd be in touch when I was ready. Linda's calls started Monday. Apparently, Mark had driven straight to Sacramento to cry on Mommy's shoulder about his wife's sudden disappearance. Her voicemails were something else, a mixture of self-righteous anger and crocodile tears about how I was destroying the family and using Emma as a weapon. The irony was delicious. The woman who'd declared I didn't deserve their family was now devastated that I'd actually left it. By week 2, the tone shifted. Mark's messages became pleading instead of demanding. He missed me, he loved me, he wanted to work things out. Linda's calls took on a desperate quality. Suddenly I was a wonderful mother, and they'd misunderstood our relationship. Too little, too late. Week 3 brought promises of change. Mark would stand up to his mother more. Linda would respect boundaries. They'd both try harder to appreciate everything I brought to the family. Standard relationship repair playbook, but missing the fundamental point. I didn't want them to try harder. I didn't want to negotiate for basic respect and consideration. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life proving I was worthy of a family that had already decided I wasn't. Month 2 was when desperation really set in. Mark drove to Portland, showing up at my sister's house with flowers and tears. Linda called my parents, my friends, anyone she thought might convince me to come back. They were pulling out all the stops, using every emotional manipulation technique in the book. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It gives you a solid foundation to build something new. My job performance had been exceptional. The company offered me a promotion with a substantial raise. Emma had made new friends at her school and was talking about joining the soccer team. We'd found a cute apartment near my sister's family, close enough for support, but far enough for independence. For the first time in years, I was making decisions based on what I wanted instead of what everyone else expected. I was dating again. Nothing serious, just remembering what it felt like to have conversations with someone who actually listened to my opinions instead of just waiting for their turn to talk. Emma was thriving too. She video called Mark twice a week and spent every other weekend with him when he drove up to Portland. Their relationship was actually stronger now that it wasn't filtered through the daily tensions of an unhappy marriage. Linda rarely saw Emma during these visits. Apparently, being a grandmother was less appealing when it required actual effort, instead of just showing up for birthday parties and holidays. Month 6 brought the divorce papers. Mark contested at first, probably on Linda's advice, but his lawyer eventually convinced him that a cooperative divorce would be better for everyone, especially Emma. I wasn't asking for alimony or trying to take his truck or golf clubs. I just wanted a clean break and shared custody that worked for Emma's best interests. The final hearing was almost anticlimactic. Mark looked tired, older somehow. Linda wasn't there, probably couldn't stand to see her perfect son's marriage officially dissolved. We signed papers, shook hands with lawyers, and walked out of the courthouse as officially divorced individuals. That evening, I took Emma out for ice cream to celebrate not the divorce, but our new beginning. She was excited about starting 4th grade at her new school, about trying out for soccer, about the art classes my sister had signed her up for. "Are you happy, Mommy?" she asked, chocolate chip mint dribbling down her chin. "Yeah, baby, I really am, and I meant it." For the first time in years, I was genuinely happy. Not pretending everything's fine happy, not making the best of it happy, but actually, authentically happy with my life and choices. A year later, I got promoted again. Emma made the soccer team and discovered she had a real talent for art. I'd started dating someone new. A teacher who thought my independence was attractive instead of threatening, who encouraged Emma's interests instead of trying to change them, who treated me like an equal partner instead of a possession to be managed. Mark remarried within 18 months. Linda posts constantly on social media about her new daughter and how wonderful it is to have someone who really understands family values. The new wife is younger, quieter, and apparently much more willing to accept Linda's opinions about everything, from child rearing to household management. They seem happy, and I genuinely hope they are. Everyone deserves to find their perfect match. Sometimes I run into old friends from our married days, and they always ask if I regret leaving. The answer is always the same. My only regret is that it took me so long to realize I deserved better. That birthday party conversation was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to stop making excuses and start making changes. It showed me that sometimes the people who claim to love you are actually holding you back from becoming who you're meant to be. Linda was right about one thing. I didn't deserve that family. I deserved so much more, and now I have it. Their words didn't break me. They freed me. And that freedom led to a life that's authentically mine, built on respect and genuine love instead of obligation and manipulation. The calls and texts stopped months ago. Occasionally, I'll see something on social media about their perfect new life, and I'll smile knowing I made the right choice. My revenge wasn't dramatic or destructive. It was simply living well and being happy. And honestly, that's the best revenge of all.